everybody, it's Rod with VanGuns coming back at you with another video. Today, I'm going to talk about modern cartridges and some of the older, more classic counterparts and try to help you decide whether you need to buy a modern cartridge or whether some of the old ones will work just fine. So yeah, modern cartridges. I think anybody's been reading VanGuns blog or watching these videos, you know that I've got a lot of classic cartridges like the 30-06, the 308, 30-30 Winchester, all these old cartridges. And I don't own a lot of modern cartridges. I do have two, and I'm going to call a modern cartridge anything that's been made in the last 40 years. So, 1984 and newer. And I only own two. One of them's a handgun cartridge, this little guy, the 40 Smith & Wesson. I own a Beretta Model 96 chambered in this caliber, and that's definitely a modern cartridge. And then I also own a rifle chambered in 300 Blackout, and that cartridge came out in 2009, so it's definitely a modern cartridge. That's it. All my other cartridges are, and all my guns that shoot these various cartridges are all older cartridges, older than 40 years back. And some of them go way back over 100 years. And so a lot of these newfangled cartridges come out, and sometimes they, talk a big game, and then you dive into it and you go, yeah, it's a little better at that, but is it really worth buying a new rifle or getting rid of your old rifle? And sometimes it is. There are some cartridges that've come out in the last 20 years that are pretty amazing. But some of them, maybe you really don't need to worry about it. So let's dive in to some of these older cartridges and their modern counterparts and see if there's any that you really ought to consider getting. Okay, just briefly here. So I'm going to do this by caliber, 30 caliber, 7mm, these different calibers, and look at classics and look at what the modern replacements are for those. And you may be surprised to find that some of the older cartridges really don't have a modern replacement, not in the truest sense of the word. But what we're seeing today is modern cartridge design. And there's, of course, an acronym for that, MCD. And modern cartridges are typically shorter and fatter. This allows for better powder burn. We also have tighter tolerances on rifles these days, and so some of these cartridges have much tighter tolerances, so the bullet seats better in the barrel, so it's more accurate. And we also have faster rifle twists in the modern cartridges so that long bullets can be properly fired and stabilized. So that's the primary difference between modern cartridge design and the old school cartridges. But does it really matter for a hunter? This is really kind of where the rubber meets the road. Clearly, for long-range target shooting, you got to go with a modern cartridge. They're going to blow the old cartridges away. It's not even close. They're more accurate. They fire flatter. They hold their energy longer. I mean, the modern cartridge design is just better for long-range shooting and precision shooting. The whole PRC line of bullets, it's precision rifle cartridge. That's what it stands for. So, but I'm going to look at it more from a hunting standpoint because I don't think there should be an argument. If you're talking about precision shooting or long-range shooting, don't buy an old cartridge. Get a new rifle and get it chambered in one of these modern cartridges. But if you're hunting, maybe. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. We need your subscriptions. So I'm going to start with the 30s. I mentioned earlier that 30-06 and 308 don't really seem to have a modern replacement. And before you start, smashing the keyboard there for your comment about, PRC or, Winchester Short Magnum, those are both Magnum cartridges. And those really aren't comparable to 30-06 or 308. They have a lot more recoil, a lot more velocity, a lot more power. It's a different class of cartridge. The Winchester Short Magnum and the 30 PRC are directly comparable to a 300 Remington Magnum or a 300 Rum. And in that case, you can make a real strong argument in favor of the 300 PRC. Again, for hunting, if you're taking shots at
400, 500 yards, it's going to have an advantage. But, the Win Mag, it's kind of hard to beat that because it's been around for a long time and there's a lot of different bullets for it, a lot of different loads. It's real versatile. And the PRC is not as versatile as the Remington Magnum. So if you're shooting a 30-06 or a 308 and you're happy with the power and the energy and the performance, I don't think there's a new cartridge you need to look at. If you're shooting a 300 Win Mag and you'd like to get something a little more up to date, that 300 PRC starts to look good. It's a smaller, shorter cartridge. It packs a equal amount of punch to the Win Mag, and it does have those, that fast twist and that the capability to stabilize those big, heavy for caliber bullets, and it doubles as a long range gun. You're going to fight the wind better. You're going to everything's going to be a little better. It's just going to tighten everything up a little bit. So it could be worth it. So here we are at the 28s, 7mm. This is kind of a sweet spot caliber. You can go long and lean, heavy for caliber bullets. You can just do a lot with 7mm. And you still have a pretty fat hole you're putting in the animal as well. Kind of satisfies everybody if you really think about it. The classics are the 7mm 08 Remington, and of course the 7mm Remington Magnum. And there's also on the classic side the 7mm Weatherby Magnum. The 7mm PRC and the 280 Ackley Improved are the modern cartridges here. The 280 Ackley Improved is really more of a hybrid modern cartridge because it's based off the 30-06 case. So it's not really truly a modern cartridge design, but it is fairly modern. And of course, the 7mm PRC is. So looking at those cartridges, really, it's hard to move away from the 7 mag because it's been around a while, lots of ammo out there for it. But the 7 PRC is going to give you similar performance, and it's going to do so in a short action rifle and taking advantage of that modern cartridge design. It's going to be more accurate, and it's going to be able to run those long bullets, even longer than the 7mm Rem Mag. So that's kind of up to you, the hunter, whether you feel like it's time to trade in your 7 mag. If you're running a 7mm 08, there isn't really a modern cartridge to go up against that. Kind of like the 308 and the 30-06. Everything today is a little more potent, a little more magnum-y, and the 7mm 08 is a nice light-hitting cartridge that can load some big thumper bullets. I still love the 7mm 08. Okay, now the 27s. The 27s, those are my favorite. I love the 270 caliber. A lot of people like the 7mm better, but for me, the 27s are really awesome. There really hasn't been much in 27 over the decades. The 270 Winchester was the benchmark by which all 27 calibers will probably forever be compared. And really about the only cartridge that ever came out in 270 was the 270 Weatherby Magnum. And Remington had a Magnum, a little short WSM Magnum. And that's kind of about it until recently when the 277 Fury was launched a few years ago. And of course, the amazing 6.8 Western. So 27 is a great caliber. And I think you'll find that 270 Winchester it's still really, really awesome. If you want a little more power and you want a modern cartridge with Magnum power, the 6.8 Western or the Winchester Short Magnum in 270 are both excellent choices. I think I'd give the edge to the 6.8 Western because unlike the Winchester Short Magnum, the 6.8 Western is really a true modern cartridge design. It's got all the elements of the modern cartridge design. And it's a truly excellent cartridge. But whether I would switch from a 270 Winchester to that is hard to say. 270 Winchester is a long action. A lot of people like the short action. And the 277 Fury is really a military cartridge. Not sure that how that's going to work out in the hunting world. I don't know that we have a whole lot of data for hunting on that one. But there it is anyway. Okay, 24s and 25s. There's been a lot of activity recently in this caliber range with the 6mm Creedmoor, the 6.5 Creedmoor, and the 6.5 PRC. In the hunt from a hunting perspective, you got the 243 Winchester, still a better choice for hunters. The 6mm Creedmoor, of course, set up for long distance shooting and will best the 243 there. But for hunting ranges, 243's got way more options. And the 25-06 Remington is faster than the 6.5 Creedmoor, but falls short of the 6.5 PRC in terms of speed. Problem with 25-06 is it's almost dead. So probably not a good choice unless you already own it. So summing it up, some of these old classic cartridges are still ideal for hunting, and some of the newer cartridges are really taken charge and are going to eventually just take over. What I found is that with the exception of the Creedmoor cartridges, most of these modern cartridges are pushing bullets at magnum velocities. They're basically magnums, and not everybody wants to shoot a magnum. If you're shooting blacktail, coastal blacktail, or you're shooting short distances on whitetail, you don't need a big old ball busting magnum. And sometimes you want to have something a little lighter and handier. And it just seems to me that the classic cartridges are going to continue to fill that space. Cartridges like the 270 Winchester and the 243 Winchester. Cartridges like the 7mm 08. These are great cartridges, and there really isn't a modern replacement for them. And maybe it's just because they do such a good job. But if you're going to be loading up magnums, it's, the 300 Win Mag and even those WSMs, which are fairly modern, are really kind of being replaced by these PRCs and the 6.8 Western.
So there you have it. A handful of cartridges that are really worthwhile. Older cartridges and some newer ones. I hope you found this information to be helpful. I hope to see you right back here on VanGuns.